Welcome to Beat Diabetes, where we discuss ways and means for you to defeat this monster that has crept into your life for the purpose of your destruction. But I'm convinced that victory over diabetes could be just around the corner for you. And all that you need is to just get hold of 4 key concepts. When it comes to beating diabetes and reversing those high glucose levels, I know it can be done. I hear from people all the time who have done it. I read their stories in the comments, I get emails from some, I talk to some on the phone, and I interview some for our Beat Diabetes videos. These people who have crushed diabetes are just popping up everywhere, and the phenomenon shows no signs of stopping or letting up. So how do they do it? What is their technique? What do they have that you may feel you do not have? I believe you can sum up the key concepts that bring victory over diabetes into 4 categories. And today we'll talk about those 4 concepts or categories that enable men and women to crush diabetes. The first indispensable concept for beating diabetes is information, or to put it another way, knowledge. You just have to know a few things. If you didn't have to know anything at all, then everybody should be able to beat diabetes. But many people do not beat diabetes. They are beaten by diabetes. They suffer from circulatory problems, kidney failure, failing eyesight, constant infections, amputations, and so many other things. They often die well before the time they should. And one big reason they do so poorly with diabetes is a lack of information. There are just a few vital insights they need that could make all the difference for them. Many of them know they should avoid sugar, but they don't realize, for example, that starches turn into sugar in your stomach lightning fast. Thus, a piece of bread or a baked potato raises glucose nearly as high and as quickly as eating raw sugar. But they don't know that, and so they eat their potatoes and their various bread products in blissful ignorance, and then they can't figure out why their A1C just keeps getting worse and worse. Many people do not know, they just don't have the information which says that the sugar in fruit is not all that different from sugar that's in a candy bar. So they pat themselves on the back for passing up the candy bars and the cake and the pie and the ice cream, while they gorge themselves on mangoes, oranges, bananas, grapes, and cherries. The Bible says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." And this is surely true of many diabetics. It's sad to think that many people, I would say millions of people, have died way too soon, have suffered needlessly, have experienced terrible pain and depression over a condition that could have been easily resolved with a few simple truths, a few bits of information and knowledge, that it could have changed everything for them. I think of the 4 concepts I'll discuss today, this idea of information is the most easily solved problem of all. We're not talking about rocket science here. We're not talking about a so-called steep learning curve. We're talking about a little bit of knowledge that could be explained in about 20 or 30 minutes. You don't have to be smart, you don't have to be clever, but you do have to do a little research and go to a legitimate source of that knowledge. If I went into a floral shop and told them I want to buy a tire for my car, they'd laugh at me. Shops that sell flowers do not sell tires, and I could search that flower store from corner to corner and not find a single tire. And sadly, there are many experts, even medical experts and nutritionists, that cannot give you the information you need. Some can, but many of the so-called experts are as much in the dark about diabetes as you are, and you'll have to be a little bit creative to keep seeking out sources until you find the ones that actually work and truly have the answers. A second concept needed beyond mere information is confirmation. We human beings are made to need things confirmed to us before we will believe them. This is why advertisers will create ads and commercials and air them over and over again, drilling their particular product into your head until you finally feel like you cannot live without it. When I was younger, there was a TV commercial featuring a man named Mr. Whipple. He was a grocery store worker, and he was constantly squeezing the Charmin bathroom tissue while he hypocritically told the customers, "Don't squeeze the Charmin." Now, that ad campaign continued for over 20 years while they made around 500 different commercials, all featuring Mr. Whipple telling his customers not to squeeze the Charmin, and then going on to squeeze it himself when they were gone. So, why did the Charmin company not just make one commercial and air it for a few months until they were confident most TV viewers had seen it? It was because they, and almost everybody else in the advertising business, knew that people's minds are influenced by repetition. If you say something long enough, if you say it in a variety of ways, you'll eventually convince many people that what you're saying is legitimate. Most of us are never going to change our behavior based on one admonition, one lesson, one testimony, one YouTube video, one anything. We need to hear something numerous times for us to really, really get it. And the first time you hear that diabetes can be beaten by a low-carb diet along with time-restricted eating, in most cases that's going to fly right over your head. But when you hear it again and again, you start to consider, well, maybe this is right. What if it is? What if this could really work and help me knock out diabetes? And this is why I create so many videos that are essentially saying pretty much the same thing. I say it in different ways. I use testimonials. I interview people. I do lectures like this one. Benedict and I sometimes do comedy skits. We do blood sugar tests to prove that there are some cold, hard reasons to believe what we're saying. And we just keep hammering home that same theme every Tuesday and every Friday, and lo and behold, we hear from multitudes of people all the time, usually people every week, if not every day, that they have beaten diabetes following our encouragement and now have their glucose in the non-diabetic range. And this is why I often mention doctors and other researchers who are saying the exact same thing as I am. If I were the only voice in the wilderness, if I were the only one on YouTube or writing books saying that the low-carb approach is the surest, fastest, most reliable means of beating diabetes there is, if I were the only one saying that, you would do well to be highly suspicious. Surely there should be more than one old, somewhat strange minister who believes this. And of course, there are many others, including doctors and nutritionists. And this is why I often talk about Dr. Richard Bernstein, Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Sarah Hallberg, Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Sten Ekberg, Ken Bickman, and others. I'm not the only one saying these things, folks. These people that I just mentioned are highly intelligent, and there are lots more I haven't mentioned. They know the research backwards and forwards, often much better than I do, and they've seen tremendous success in helping diabetics reverse their diabetes. I'm just one small little pebble in the pond, but I'm happy to do my part and share my own confirmation to what so many others are saying. So we have information and we have confirmation. Next, we'll talk about motivation, and this is a biggie. There are so many people who have the information. They know exactly what they need to do, but they lack the will to stay with the program. They lack motivation. So how do we find that motivation? Part of the answer is what we've just talked about. We get confirmation of the information we have been learning. We just keep hearing it until it sinks down deep into our spirits. Another aspect of motivation has to do with the testimonies of others. When we hear about other people who have found victory over diabetes and we learn about their struggles and what they went through and how they finally found victory and got their levels down to non-diabetic range, and we see how happy and joyful they are, motivation starts to seep into our spirit. I can almost smell motivation when I read some of the comments under my videos. Frequently, I read stories of people who haven't even yet seen the full victory, but they've seen enough success that they are now well on their way, and often they're so excited They'll say things like, I can't wait to go back to my doctor and have him test my A1C. And when I read those kind of things, I know that victory has already been won in their lives. They may not be there yet, but with the kind of motivation and enthusiasm they have, it's just a matter of time before they get to the promised land of normal blood sugar. Now, Mike, the blood sugar meter, helps tremendously in this area of motivation. When you start testing yourself and cutting your carbs, sooner or later, you're going to see those glucose levels coming down. And once those numbers start to drop, you just can't help but be excited and motivated. A few simple tests with Mike can do for you something that no doctor, no nutritionist, and no old guy preacher on YouTube could ever do. Mike the meter can impart raging, red-hot, irresistible, unstoppable, relentless motivation that will not let you rest until you have obtained that A1C in the 5s. Now, there's one more concept we need to share which blends and intermingles with the first 3. We must have information, we must have confirmation, we must have motivation, and 4th, we must have hope. Hope is tremendously important in overcoming really any adversary or any struggle that we go through, and this is certainly true in our struggle with diabetes. Sadly, in some cases, a medical professional will leave you without any kind of hope. First, they'll tell you diabetes is chronic and progressive. You'll always have it. It's going to get worse and worse. And second, they'll give you medication, but no strategy at all to fight with. Just take your pills and endure to the end. Take your pills and be a brave little soldier as you march into the gray mist of misery, suffering, and death. If people have no hope, they give up. There's no need to try to better your situation. Diabetes, in your mind, is a death sentence, and you're just one of those unlucky ones that have it. After all, if there was something you could do to turn back the clock and turn back the glucose levels, your doctor or your nutritionist would surely have told you. But their silence is proof there's really nothing you can do. How unlucky I am that I was born with this particular set of genes. Even the most basic of suggestions, such as eliminating sweets, is hard to follow when you already feel that you're a loser. And anything beyond that, well, just forget it. But when you get the right information, and it is confirmed by hearing it multiple times and from numerous witnesses, not only do you get motivation, you get hope. Hope is not just merely wishful thinking. It is the joyous expectation of a bright future and victory over that beast that has attacked you. And I'm convinced that this is why I see the success I do with this YouTube channel. Hundreds of thousands of people watch videos by an old guy, a preacher, and a pretty dull fella at that. But they watch because I can give them hope they often don't find elsewhere. Every interview I do with someone who overcame sky-high blood sugar, every lecture, every time I sit down at that table with the red tablecloth in front of a mic and share testimonies of people that they have shared in the comments, hope rises higher and higher. Maybe I can beat this thing. Maybe I can get my blood sugar back down. Maybe there is hope for me too. And of course, that is exactly 100% correct. There is hope for you, my friend. As you get the information you need, as you come to realize there are many voices saying the exact same thing as I do and that I am, and as you discover that you're suddenly motivated to lay off the bread, pasta, rice, and potatoes, and of course all the sugary sweets, that beautiful little thing we call hope will gradually fill your heart. The storm is coming to an end. The clouds are moving out. The destructive waters are receding. Everything is going to be okay. Here are a few quick updates about our 2022 challenge. First, many of you are wondering how you can be sure that you are registered. Well, I will be sending out an email today to all who have registered by Wednesday of this week. I'll send out the email at around 2 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the U.S., so if you get an email, you are registered. Now, if you don't see an email from me in your inbox, check your spam folder and be sure and right-click on the email and mark it as not spam. So from now on, it will come straight to your inbox. On the email, I'll have a link to a short video of welcome to our challenge. So what is this 2022 challenge? I will be providing dietary guidelines for 6 months along with special tips and hacks to help you lower your blood sugar levels. Our goal is to get your A1C down into the 5s within 6 months. No, I cannot make any guarantees of this, but I can say based on my constant interactions with diabetics over the years that this is a likely outcome for many of you. And even if you do not get into the 5s, almost surely you will see a significant, and let me repeat that, a significant improvement in your glucose control and your A1C score. So when does this program kick off? I will make the 1-month February diet available to you on Friday, January the 28th. I will also issue my first short video just for all of our registered 2022 challenge folks. So that's when it will begin. It's not too late for you to register for our 2022 challenge. We will end registration on February 1st, so be sure and register while there is still time. All you have to do is send me an email. Send it to grace@spiritofgrace.org and write "Count Me In" on the subject line. Count me in. You'll get no confirmation email, but you will be getting an email from me next Friday, January the 28th. God bless, and see you again soon.